any portfolio. Only you will carry your portfolio. Alright, so you will be surprised if I'm going to sit in that space between them. Don't worry, somebody that will sit there is up. So we have the third person who has also presented today and has also taken us, around what it is when you are, especially when you are migrating to the other countries, especially Canada, in terms of how it has to do with your qualification, education, and what. Join me as I bring forward to this discussion part, Dr. Dorothy and Tony. Alright, we're making progress. And then again, like I said earlier, I have that person who is going to speak to all the three papers here. We're going to speak to all the three papers that have been discussed today. We're going to give us some wrap-up, summary of those three papers. Join me as I welcome the distinguished, electable, powerful, all the way from the United States, Dr. Francisca Ivo Domnall. Don't stop clapping this for me. Thank you, Dr. Francisca. Okay, so thank you. The last person I'm going to invite there is also going to join them on this side for this discussion, who I call my question here. I've told him, develop a question from all the three papers, and he has done it fantastically well. Join me as I welcome Dr. Elisha Onye Leon. I hope I pronounced it right. We're going to have that discussion. So, Dr. Francisca will do the wrap-up, and then we have the question, and then every other person who here can then have their question and answer. So, you can pick your seats. Thank you. God bless you. All right. So that you can be more easier. Thank you. All right. So, I'll give Dr. Francisca mine. You can leave over here.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to this session and the segment. In fact, when the lectures today were going on, it was interesting that I began to make connections. So in statistics, we call it correlation, where you are, kind of piecing the puzzles together and seeing the connection. And all the papers that have been presented so far, and the ones today, appear to have common correlations. They kind of merge into one another, and those were the things that I was able to pick from that. Because when we were talking about when our distinguished speaker, Professor Aloy, made his presentation, and when Dr. Dorothy made her presentation on immigration, I started looking at immigration dependency. Some of the things that I made mention or I made note of was the diversity, the cooperation, the opportunity that stems from immigration, which is a global benefit if we approach it the right way. But there are also detrimental factors to it, especially to the immigrants. She went through all those factors that stem from lack of social support, abuse, isolation, dehumanization of immigrants. She also talked about the disintegration of families that they leave behind, or maybe also leave behind here while they're trying to work to make ends meet. She talked about the family generations. She also talked about, how these things play a role to contribute to lack of social justice. She went through the cultural erosion, where people lose their cultural identity, where you no longer understand who you are. You want to fit in, and then you lose yourself in the process. She talked about, how these things contribute to psychological trauma. Some of the recommendations that she, offered us were connecting to one another, having, a group. And I came up with connecting to social, community centers, where you are able to find the right answers, get the right information, surround yourself with the right people, find people who look like you, who might have gone through the same experience, and might have something to offer. Because lack of information is that it deprives you from knowledge, and you are not empowered. In fact, one of the things that she also made mention, which was very telling, is how immigrants can actually become part of the grassroots policy or legislative body, because we can't want ourselves as immigrants to be connected or included if we don't find a way to get to the policy making table and become a voice for the rest of the immigrants. Then, in connection to that, our honorable speaker talked about the Canadian school system. He went through the categories, he went through the requirements, the financial needs and the financial implications. He also talked about the choices. And one of the things that came up from that is in connection to what Dr. Dorothy had mentioned, lack of connectivity. If immigrants would have the information that you presented to us today, you would agree with me that they will make more progress. They will be able to navigate the system with lesser stresses facing them, challenges. It would not be as easy, but it will be easier. And so, having an advocate that understands the system, that is an insider, becomes very important. And so we can be each other's advocate, be each other's voice, and help each other to rise, carry each other along. Then our last speaker, Dr. Ross Power, talked about assessment of health, risk, and behavior. And it's very telling because when we look at all the three topics or all the things that we'll be talking about, it relates to human behavior, human mindset, approach, how we define and how we do things, and how those things that we do become detrimental to us and to one another, and even to our community. comments that he referenced to the lack of awareness, organizational negligence, lack of implementation, but also lack of accountability. Because you can have all the right policies, but if you cannot implement or enforce them, it makes no sense. And so what he was able to identify was lack of not just implementation, but also enforcement. And it starts from the top to the bottom. Because if the top, the management, cannot enforce it and make sure that there are consequences to organizations who do not follow through, then there will be no change. So the common man will suffer. The common man will fall from the height and fall. The family might get a 50,000 and that's it. But the life is lost and you can never replace it. The community will continue to suffer because those risk behaviors will not just impact the life, but also will constitute environmental pollution and environmental disintegration. A lot of things will go wrong just from one act. He talked about lack of proper behavioral structure. He talked about in the workplace. He talked about being able for management to receive feedback or for communities to receive feedback through awareness and understand where their power lies. He talked about change steps and implementation. He talked about man-hour loss, which is very telling because every time an individual who is a worker is not present, something happens to them, either through mental health or through stress or through accident, there will be man-hour loss. The company loses, even though they don't know it yet, and the individual loses their wages. Their families suffer indirectly or directly. He also talked about, safety cultures and incentives that could encourage people to adhere to some of those regulations, where it's almost like a reward system. It's like when you're hungry, you need to eat. The food is a reward you give to your body for having a hunger taste. So that reward system can be put in place as a way to motivate people to do the right thing. You are not bribing them, but you are telling them that it could benefit them. And doing that, they will allow it to become second nature to them. They will automatically do it, even without incentive. He talked about advocacy, and I added education and awareness, because really nothing can happen. No change will come to any community, immigrants or a rural area without awareness, education, and empowerment. Because knowledge is power. If they know, then they know what they need to do. They will understand their rights, and they will understand how to speak for themselves. So all that were all the things that we were loaded with today, and I wanted those at the breakfast, and I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you.
Yeah. Hold on to the mic, because the mic. Okay. Hold on to the mic. The mic is going to get busy now. Thank you, Dr. Francisca. That was great and fantastic. A wrap up of the whole session we've had today so far. And so now we're going to go to the Q&A, and then some conversation will come around that. seems to affect, in reality, it affects us as human beings. It affects area of our career. It affects area of our livelihood or existence. And so we are going to look at all of those aspects today. So our question here, I'm sure he said, so I will let him ask the question. Maybe I'm going to ask that we help the panelists with the pen and paper so that they can write questions down and then they can answer the question. For each question, please try as much as possible not to spend more than a minute. Answer your own question straight. There are people that will make contribution to the question so that you don't want to touch somebody else's question. Just answer your own and let the person know who you are directing the question to. Is that okay, sir? Can we roll? Okay, thank you. Mr. Question here.
Good afternoon, distinguished ladies and gentlemen.
Good afternoon.
The first question I have, or may look at from the first facilitator, Dr. Dorothy Anthony. I have observed, or let me simply state the question. What do you think we can do to improve Nigeria immigrants to Canada? I may give you again. That's the question.
You mean what we can do?
Yeah.
Is it the immigrants already in Canada or the ones coming into Canada?
Both. Because even while going to Canada, back home, make applications, there are challenges, there are difficulties. Even those of us who also come in here to meet up, if you look at the process compared with other nations like India or Asian countries, the challenges we pass through, difficulties we pass through, they don't compare to what we Nigerians pass through.
Okay, let me start with from back home country.
Okay.
You know, it's quite unfortunate that we as Nigerians, what we are going through is incomparable to what other African countries, not to talk of even West African countries, go through, especially in coming to Canada, both as a visitor, as a student, or even as a family member. So I would attribute it, first of all, with our leaders. I mean, the president or the foreign minister, as the case may be. Because, it's just like, an example is like the flights. You can imagine, somewhere like India, the flight fares could be like 1,000, and just from Nigeria to Toronto here is 2,000-3,000. At the peak season, you can even get up to $4,000. So what I'm saying in essence is, if our leaders back home, it's just like they are leaders, they are not leaders. I keep saying it. I can, quote me anyway. Majority of them are rulers, in the sense that they are so selfish, they don't even consider their citizens. If they consider their citizens, we have foreign minister here in Canada. What prevents him from saying, okay, Canadian, you have your policies, you have your requirements for visitors to Nigerian visitors to visit Canada, or you have your requirements for students, Nigerian students to study in Canada. Okay, let's do it this way. Because you can, it saddens my heart
TOEFL.
No, TOEFL is different. So, I mean, you as a graduate in whatever course or program you've done, you are coming down here, you are still required to be assessed in English. So, that is what I'm saying. So, if we have an embassy here, of course we have high commission, high commission here. What we students have been complaining, even as Nigerians, we've been complaining. What prevents our government to liaise or to talk with the government of Canada? Because it was the last 2 years, it was even in the news that they should strike out English requirement for Nigerians. So part of the issue is Nigerian government. And secondly, even though we find ourselves here, I'm sorry to say it, but it's true, we don't give information to our fellow brothers and sisters. We find it very difficult to give out the information there that will help our fellow, citizens from back home country. So that's where the problem comes. And even if you have decided to say, oh, okay, I want to give this information to my, from those who are coming from where I'm coming from, some of them, it's like, I don't know what is going, what happens. They will think they want to enrich you. They wouldn't even want to come and say, okay, let me listen to what this person is saying. You understand? Maybe it's an ego or what? I don't know. So the ego is too much that they don't want to listen to you, thinking that, someone might say, oh, she knows better than he knows. So that is part of the issue. So, and then for the students who are already here, I would encourage them to look for information, get information. Not everybody is rigid with their own information. Personally, like me, I stop you on the way. Our black folks, I stop them, whether they are, from Nigeria or Caribbean. As soon as it's a black boy, child, or boy or man, I always want to stop them on the road and ask them, how are you doing? How is school today? And ask cashier. So that is me as a person. But if we can get someone like me, even if it's 1 or 2%, I think we'll go a long way. Thank you.
Thank you for
Mr. Question, I need to manage the time. Yeah.
the question I have. The second goes this way. Looking at what do you think we can do to also improve the placement of our academic records vis-a-vis that of Canada?
Generally we have 2 assessment areas. Is it for the qualifications or
yes,
certificate?
Yeah,
normally,
certificates and
okay.
qualifications, yes.
Okay, we have, depending on the program or the courses one has acquired or the certificate one has acquired back home country, we have what they call bridging program. So that even if you, as an engineer, you studied engineering back home country and you're coming down here, there is a bridging program. It's either you, because they don't want your certificate, they feel you are not qualified. You can now say, okay, I want to do electrical engineering. Okay, they will give you the option, aren't they? You will be required to, if the engineering program is 4 years, you'll be required to do 2 extra years. Or even start, I'm sorry to say, or even start afresh. Some universities, they wouldn't even want to give you 1 or 2 years, to complete your certificates. And like you're asking me, another issue there is for us to be able to unite. I know we have some organizations here, we even have our communities here. We should bring that in, to the community. You understand? Because they regard communities a lot. This is a multicultural country. So if we can bring such questions in our various communities so that we will deliberate about it and now have a representative to speak on our behalf to the government, I think that would be a good one.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Clap our ball.
me move to Mr. Aloysius Okafor. Just one question for you. Okay, let me go straight. What do you think can be done to improve or reduce the difficulties or challenges Nigerian immigrants face when they move to Canada as a result of difference in educational systems?
So let's get the information. We too are scrambling for those questions. We would like to hear you, Elisha. Can you come again with the question?
Okay.
Use the mic.
What do you think can be done to improve or reduce the difficulties Nigerian immigrants face when they move to Canada as a result of differences in the educational system?
Yeah.
All right, thank you for that question. Number one is information. Information is smart. And what that information has to do is it tries to restructure the mindset of Nigerian immigrants that come to this place. Right? One is because when they come, many of them think that when they come, they rush straight and get dollars from the government. That is not true. So, one is let them know that there's a process. Back home, we don't believe in the process. We believe in the shortcuts to get things done. But there's a process in this place. So, immigrants to the system have to be patient enough to follow through with the process and get it. Now, knowing the process is another thing. Like Dr. Dorothy is already doing, there's a place that they can come together to get that information. And that will help move forward. And believing in the process, believing living the mindset of let's get it today, even if we have to steal and to get it. There are some people that have come and we say, hey, hold on. This is what you do, this is what you do. And they leave us, go to somewhere downtown, Toronto or Jellyfish, and they tell them, hey, don't mind them, just go to that refugee place and answer. And they miss it. Many of them are graduates. So their certificate is lost. All the years that they go with a different man that does not define. And then they can't fit into the system that believes in the process.
Can I say something? Can I add something? Okay. So, quick one. Yeah, I think if we really want solution, because for every problem there will be a solution, we should start with our leaders, because here in Canada, we have Nigerian organizations. Can we contact each leader in each of the organizations or cultural background or whatever, and gather them together and let's talk about this issue, because it's very, very important, because this problem will not end if we don't act on it. So if we can, if it's maybe Igbo community, okay, who is your president in Igbo community? If it's in Yoruba, who is your president in Yoruba or community? Come together. I mean, we have intellectuals there in among these communities. You know the problem we are having is, oh, I know it's too much, to succeed also. So we need a common ground for each. Look at somebody like Dr. Anyanwu. So if he's doing this kind of thing, why wouldn't people come around to, to get some information, to even, see what he's doing, and from this we can even help other people. So my final something is, let's stop this sentiment that I have suffered to make it. I want the other person to suffer. So because you have suffered, you can help the other person so that he doesn't go through the rigorous ways you have gone. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
I hope our ambassador actually listening, because this is a direct message to you. To you. Yes. What our response right now, the comment and what she added is a correlation that directly points to something that we can sit down and collaborate with them for solutions.
Let's take the last one, which goes to my good friend Dr. Dorothy. And I know that with the power he has, he's going to handle this question very, very well. I listened very carefully when you spoke. An issue of safety is a very serious one. Due to the best of the knowledge you have,